Hello, welcome to my latest video. My name is Stuart. I'm the unrepentant atheist. So, what I'm going to talk about today is something which not infrequently crops up when theists and atheists are talking about the truth of religion. And it's not unusual for somebody to pop up and say, well, look at Hitler, look at Stalin, look at the worst repugnant regimes of the 20th century, and they're all atheist. So we've got Stalin, who killed, I don't know, 20 million of his own people. Hitler wiped out another 20 million or more in the Second World War. And later on, we've got Pol Pot and various other awful dictators, all of whom did not believe in God. And the implication is that, well, two things. First of all, I think that Christians are saying, or theist Christians are saying that, first of all, the Christian worldview is superior to the atheist worldview, as evidenced by the fact that we've had these repugnant regimes that have slaughtered tens of millions of people. While in the 20th century, you won't find, on the whole, you won't find regimes which have embraced religions who've got the same awful track record for human rights abuses. So the only thing about that is that if you take, for example, the United States of America, Christian country, okay, it's built into the Constitution, the separation of church and state. However, let's be honest that uh, the United States of America has always been a deeply religious country, and even now is far more religious than any nation in Western Europe, embarrassingly so. And if you go back to the days of slavery, you have a Christian society um, that is trading on the human misery of slavery. So I don't really see how you can make the argument that um, theistic societies or societies that are predicated on the existence of a god have been really any better than, should we say, uh, not atheist societies as such, but secular civilizations or nations such as the Soviet Union and obviously various communist dictatorships, etc., in the 20th century. And of course, if we go back um, even further, we start to encounter um, wars like the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition, etc. Yeah, I won't bore you with that because the points have already been well made. That it's been said that more people have died in the name of religion than in any other cause. I don't know if that's still the case, of course, because in the 20th century we had tens of millions of people dying. I wouldn't say not in the name of atheism. They weren't. This is the difference in uh, in medieval times, in the Crusades and the Inquisition, etc. And well, for example, the burning of heretics, all sorts of stuff was really in the name of religion. Now, I don't believe you can say that the people that Stalin sent to the gulags and that he had shot were killed in the name of atheism. So this is the crux of it, really, for me. That and why I think Christians or theists are wrong to say, well, look at all the people that died in the name of atheism. Look at all the atheist societies. There were no atheist societies as such because atheism, it's not a creed, it's not a religion, it's not a belief system. It's just literally not believing in God, a rejection of theistic claims. And the fact that Hitler grew up a Roman Catholic, and I believe that he abandoned his Christianity, and he eventually embraced, from what I understand, pantheism. which to me, really, frankly, is, the closest thing, one of the closest things you're going to get to being an atheist. Because really, if you're a pantheist, you don't believe in the traditional monotheistic personal God, the God that has got a consciousness. So I don't think Hitler believed that nature, which he called God, had any kind of consciousness. They were just sort of synonymous with each other, and I think it's pretty pointless. Why not just call it nature? Why call it God? So okay, so Hitler was an atheist. Stalin. I don't believed in God, and some of the other dictators, Castro, etc. But it's not because they didn't believe in God that they did all the killing that they did. They did all the killing that they did because they were psychopathic, narcissistic individuals with multiple very dangerous personality disorders. There are such people who exist now in the world, and we see them committing mass murders, or we see them not even committing mass murders. But these people exist in the world now. The big difference is they haven't got power to inflict the damage they would really like to inflict. So these people have always existed, very dangerous people. And it just so happens that in the 20th century, these people, there were very dangerous individuals like Stalin. Hitler was another matter. Stalin was actually a killer. He actually killed. He shot people, he knifed them, he killed them. Before, obviously, the revolution, he was one of the extremely violent people who was doing deeds on behalf of those who wanted to overthrow the system. So he was already psychopathic, extremely dangerous individual. And it's not so coming back to it, it's atheism is not a worldview. This is the difference. Christianity is actually a worldview. Let's give them that credit. Yes, it's a worldview. They believe that God is the source of all morality. They believe that God created the universe and laid down all the laws, and that if you believe in God, you'll be a better person. And extrapolating from that if you have a religious society or say Christian society, it will automatically be more humane than an atheistic society. But again, I don't like this term atheistic society because I don't think that the two it's almost like comparing apples. It's not quite like comparing apples and oranges, but again, atheism is not. It's not a creed. It's not a belief system. It's just a disbelief in God. Nothing else other than that. And Christianity's got all the dogma. Um, it's got all the supernatural claims behind it, and it is actually a worldview. So I don't really think it's valid in that sense. But moving on a little bit, if Christians are saying that only atheist societies have done these awful things, you could take another religion, for example, let's say the Baha'i people. I don't believe there have been any Baha'i evil dictators. And I don't believe there have been any Baha'i societies that did the horrible things that Christians did in centuries gone by, or really, in a way, the things that Christians are still doing. For example, the Catholic Church through forbidding abortion and contraception, which to me is tantamount to evil. I don't like using the word evil because it's got a kind of a supernatural religious connotation. But you take my point that the Baha'i could say, well, Baha'i is the true religion because we've only had humane societies, Baha'i societies. We've not had anything like what the Christians have had from the Middle Ages on, or really from the early ancient times onwards. And we've also not had what the atheists have had, with Pol Pot and Stalin, etc. So Baha'i is obviously the superior religion. And not only that, Baha'i is true. So this is the thing, though, coming back to the truth of a religion, and it's my big objection when either atheists say, well, look at all the harm that religion's done, look at all the atrocities, etc., that the church has done, and which still did in the 20th century with all the, child molestation, etc., horrible things. And so, proper skeptical atheists will not say that. They won't say, well, look at all the harm that Christianity's done. Because they should know that the harm or the good that religion has done, or how good it makes people in relation to those who don't adhere to that religion, is completely irrelevant to the truth claims behind the religion itself. And that's the position that I hold, that even if we could say that disbelief in God literally killed 100 million people in the 20th century through Hitler, Stalin, etc. Even if we could say that, which I think that's debatable, I've already given my reasons. So even if Christians are going to make those claims, and then atheists are going to say, look at all the harm that Christianity's done, none of that says anything about the truth of the claims. None of that really says anything about whether there really is a God, and if there is a God, which God is it? It's completely irrelevant. And so often in debates between, should we say, Christians and atheists, Christians will bring up so much of this stuff, particularly on morality, and then they will point to Stalin, Hitler, etc. And it can quite easily be trumped, because all you've got to say is, look at what Christianity is doing now, particularly the Catholic Church, and all the horrible things that are going on, and look at the statistics of people who are actually in prison. And I understand there have been some studies to demonstrate, particularly in the United States, that actually proportionately there are more theists in jail. There are more Christians in jail than there are atheists. Now, of course, I accept the point that a lot of criminals, when they get into prison, they want to sit before the parole board and say, I've discovered Jesus. Of course they do. So there are going to be more theists in prison, maybe for that reason, but also actually maybe it's the case that it's irrelevant to you as a person and the kind of crimes you're possibly going to commit, whether you believe in God or not. This figures certainly seem to back that up. So on the whole, I think that we've got to stop as atheists. I'll say this on my behalf, and on behalf of atheists, never to introduce this into conversation. That look at all the harm that Christianity's done, etc., etc. Even if even if they say that, even if theists are going to say that Stalin, 20th century atheist regimes, etc., etc. My reply to that would be, even if that's true, first of all, atheism is not a worldview, Christianity is, so it's not a proper comparison. Even if it's true that atheists have wreaked all this havoc on the world, it doesn't say anything about the truth of your own religion. The amount of good that you imagine your religion has done is not evidence in itself for the existence of your God. And I don't really see how they could counter that, unless they're going to say that every civilization has got to have morality, and has got to have a foundation on that morality, and that foundation has got to be a God, and that guarantees that a civilization will be good. They can say that, but of course, the facts counter that argument. Then you're going to have to start not only going back into history, talking about the Inquisition and everything, and the burning of heretics, the Crusades. You can talk about what's going on in the church today, all the cover-ups and everything. And And then if you want, you can even then go to the Bible. But I prefer not to go down that route. I prefer just to say that it doesn't matter how good Christianity, how good you imagine Christianity has been, how good theism has been. It doesn't say anything about the truth of the claim. And even if it's true that on the whole Christians behave better than atheists morally, it does not support your claim that there's a supernatural ultimate being who is the arbiter of all morality. So I think I'd like to conclude there and just say that I personally won't be engaging in any of those debates, because in a way it's a bit like mud throwing, really. It doesn't really do anything to bring the debate up, really. It sort of drags it down and it's not constructive. That's all I like to say for now, and I hope you've enjoyed that. And if you've got any thoughts about it, please leave them below.